Hey, Liron here. Thank you for joining me. In today's video, I want to share with you two portrait painting processes that I demoed in a recent live stream. We're going to focus mainly on the shapes, the edges, and the temperatures, a bit of values too. And I'll show you how to create a believable portrait where the light and shadows seem kind of realistic, but it's a very simplified version too, so it's great for beginners who want to venture into the world of portrait painting. I hope you enjoy this one. Let's get started with the first process. So we actually are going to have almost two values here. So the real darkness starts here. But we're going to have another kind of intermediate level. So let's, it's almost more effective to map the highlights in these kinds of instances. But anyway, let's map the darkest darks, and then I will eyeball the mid values, okay? So this is all part of the darkest darks, all the way to here, including the lips entirely. And then kind of going like that, and we'll have a shadow down here. Now, as for this side, we will have a bit of the darkest darks here, and that's pretty much it. We have a bit of a shadow here. I'm good to go. So I'm gonna be using this, I don't even know what it is. It's like a burnt sienna type of deal, together with my ultramarine. Gonna go for a very cliche setup. Maybe I'll add a bit of lemon yellow here, and we'll work our way, starting from the lighter lights and then moving on to the darker darks. You can start small and kind of see where you're at, get a feel for how things look, and make sure you're all set and then go. So to me, let's start here. I think this makes a lot of sense. And I'm going to be mapping out the mid shadows, the not too dark ones. And then we'll move on to the darker shadows. Good. Now we can already maybe decide that this here is a bit of a more rounded transition, like that. See? But around the temple, I'll keep this a bit of a harder transition, because that's actually what it tends to be. I can already add a bit of water and extend this here, just a bit to help me in a second to add. And I can use dual brushes, look at me. Dual wielding my colors. But yeah, let's see. I'm gonna work on this. It looks like I'm gonna work on this a bit of a hybrid process. That's just what happens. Sometimes I go with the flow. So maybe this is gonna be a little less educational, but hopefully still fun to watch. This is a shadow all the way through. This goes down here. This is actually gonna connect completely here. This is definitely an edge I want to blend. So we'll do this kind of a, because the cheek transition is soft, it's not a hard transition. So you want to smoothen it out a bit, go back to our, and let's play around with the temperature a bit. We can inject a bit more warmth here. Connect it with this shadow here and under the nose. Is that correct? I think it is. I think it makes sense. And let's move on to our other color. So I'm gonna add the blue to the mix here. That way I can almost control it a little bit more. Go a little darker. Let's see if we can get away with just using a darker value too. More a la prima. Kind of like that. And this will all connect neatly in a second. This front plane is a little more blue actually, so let me get some more blue here. Feels a little cooler almost. And as we move down, I'm gonna neutralize just a bit, but it's still gonna be on the cool side, like so. Oh, this entire thing is in the shadow. I don't have to think too much. Let's actually bring back the large brush. And let's go with the flow, see what happens here. is where I need to be a little careful. I'll probably use a bit more blue also to make the distinction, because this is the transition point. And we'll go back to this kind of a gray all the way down here. So one mistake I did make is I went a little too far here. So let's lift that back. Because I'm using my friend Saunders, I can do a little better job at it. And I can even use some tissue. There we go. And then we can start maybe lifting a bit and also charging some wet and wet if necessary. So this here should be lighter, see? It's a little triangle. And this side of the chin as well. And you see how it's sculpted? Like so. And let's do some wet in wet with the two colors, but relatively strong mix, just to get some feel of, you know, the little upper lip and the chin, maybe even the front and under the nose. See, it starts to give it a little more depth. As for the other side, I'm gonna use this a little more purely, but stronger and darker. Get this kind of a thing, and this kind of a shape here. There we go. Clean it up a little. This eyelid should be stronger. I'm gonna put this in the shadow as well. This as well. Makes a lot more sense. This actually should be darker too. There we go. And then to the bottom, the side of the nostril tends to have a bit of a shadow on it. So let's add a bit of that. There we go. Something like this looks really good. Again, very open for interpretation, but this is kind of mine. And you see, you get a somewhat of a human-looking thing that has a bit of depth to it, I think, more thanks to the temperature. I think it adds a lot of depth, actually. This a little darker eyelid here. Even this should be a little darker. There we go. And there you go. Pretty much, you know, I can go ahead and wait for it to dry and then darken, but I feel like it's a really nice feeling of light and shadow. Let me show it to you a little up close. Hopefully the colors will make a little more sense. So here it is, the first process end result in its final form. And let's move on to the next one. This is a really nice angle for the light and shadow. I like it a lot. Now I'll try and incorporate both. So we're gonna focus both on the values and on the temperature. I'm gonna forget about the edges, I think, because that's just a lot of work, honestly. Bit of water here to make it lighter. And as we move down here, I'm gonna keep the warmth on this side, but we'll start with the stronger, darker temperatures here. Actually, let's use phthalo. We'll darken faster. There we go. I'm gonna try and nail as much as I can both value and temperature the way I want. I didn't even map the shadows this time. Not very smart of me, but we'll work it out. I'm just gonna follow what I'm seeing here. So this goes here. And as we reach the lighter sections, I'm gonna continue with this cleaner, brighter, I would say, orange. Keep it relatively nicely saturated. And I can actually use almost the same mix here over on the ear. on this side of the ear at least. And switch over to my dark. Let's go a little stronger even on the shadow. Let's really make sure that it's distinct compared to the lighter sections. So this here, this entire thing is a shadow, right? Look at this transition, that's really nice. The entire neck is actually in the shadow. Let's go a little muted down here, like so. But I need to maintain the value. If there's any issues lingering, let me know, but I think we should be good. That was exactly the thing I knew will happen at some point. I just need to find that silly menu item and set it. So yeah. And as we reach down to this section, we are going to go ahead again, switch to... Now, what's going to happen is this is going to be a lighter consistency, so you want to be careful in how you touch these two edges. So I like to just really go over it like this, let them kind of naturally blend, if possible. And we'll move along this line, this shadow, down to the chin, and let's not forget this shadow before the area starts drying on us, and then we'll get some awkward edges. So there we go. And I will probably keep the shadow under the lip quite warm. I like this transition, so I'm not gonna meddle with it, even though it's not in the perfect placement, but I like it a lot. So we leave it like that. There goes the lip. Here. The nose tends to have a bit more warmth, so I'm gonna mix the two. So we're gonna have some warmth here. But then as we move down, we're gonna get some blue around the cast shadow. These are very small, nuances, really. But you'll see them later on. And here it's going to be a dark shadow. Let's do... problem with the phthalo blue is it turns into a green more than the French ultramarine. I'm going to move this for a second. Work a little carefully here. There we go. This is quite dark, and it should connect here. Ryan, I saw your email. My apologies. I have seen it, I think, shortly after you sent it, and I haven't gotten a chance to reply. But I will do my best to reply soon. My apologies. But I saw it with the Barg. That's really great. Barg is so cool. So useful. So I actually quite liked the... let's add a bit of yellow. I like the shadow, almost fake shadow here on the side of the nose. So I think I'll add it in. Just want to be careful not to let the blue move too much down below. So let's do this. And here as well, it's quite light. And I think we're good. I like that strong contrast here. I wouldn't start darkening this as well. The chin, however, is a little darker. See, now this is a really nice, in my opinion, both value and temperature study. Now, let me show you if I combine the two and kind of add a very muted background, especially to the right side. Look at what's going to happen. We're going to get something that feels a little like it has a bit more three-dimensionality to it, right? Again, the dark background can do a lot of work to enhance what you already have there. I'm going to keep this nice little gap going. See? See how it immediately enhances the shape and the feel of light and shadow. Gonna keep it lighter here where we already have a shadow. If you cannot mess around with it too much once you place it, that is ideal. But I think this is a great almost example to end on in terms of the painting demos, because it puts everything together quite nicely, I think. I don't know, let me know what you think. I'm going to show it to you on the other camera where you'll see some of the colors a little better. So here are the two end results scanned, showing you the nuance, the full nuance of color. I hope this shorter format with just the painting and narration without all the fluff of the live stream maybe gets to a wider audience so more people can learn and better understand the medium of watercolor that way. If you want to learn how to paint like this, be sure to check out the frustration-free watercolor course, link in the description box below. And also, I want to thank everyone who supports me on Patreon. If you also want to receive credit at the end of the videos, be sure to check that out. Thank you, much appreciated. And I will see you in the next video. Until then, take care.